Committee Room 21. Signed. 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 Committee Room 21. Committee Room 30. Signed. 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 Committee Room 30. Committee Room 30, signed. 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 Committee Room 30, Sound. 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 Committee Room 30, Sound.
Okay, good morning colleagues, and could I welcome everyone to today's meeting for the Committee for the Economy, which is in public session and will be recorded and broadcast throughout Parliament buildings. Apologies we have from Kate Nicholl. Declarations of interest, members, any? Not seeing any. Moving to item 3, Chairperson's business. Item 3.1, RHI closure. The Minister made an oral statement on Monday in respect of the closure of the non-domestic RHI scheme. A copy of the statement is in tabled papers. The Clerk has circulated a summary of the informal pre-statement meeting. The Minister advised the Department will undertake a public consultation on the revised tariffs and closure arrangements, which will run for 8 weeks. The new tariff, if accepted by the Executive and the Assembly, would be applied from November. The Minister intends to introduce a further paper to the Executive in December on the closure regulations, which are to take effect from April 2026. A closure bill will be introduced shortly. Are members content to note the informal pre-summary meeting note and then seek an oral briefing from the Department when the bill is published? Members content? Yeah. Content, thank you. Item 3.2, members, is a note of our informal engagement with the House of Lords International Agreements Committee last week. Members content to note? Yep, thank you. If I refer members to page 7 of the pack, they will find a copy of the draft minutes from the committee from the 17th of September. Members content that I sign those as a true and accurate copy? Agreed, thank you. Item 5 then is matters arising. If there are none, we'll move straight to our first oral evidence session, which is from the Department and the Department for Education. I'll invite our friends and colleagues forward. The committee will now receive evidence from the Department for the Economy and the Department for Education on the recently published Careers Action Plan, and I refer members to their packs for this. And can I welcome our colleagues from the Department for the Economy and from the Department for Education. And I'll hand over to you at this stage to make an opening briefing to the committee. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Chair and committee members, and thanks again for this invite to talk again about the area of careers and the publication of the Joint Action Plan. My name is Clem Athanasiou. I'm the Director for Apprenticeships, Careers and Vocational Education in DFE. I'm joined by Justin Kerr, Head of Career Service, Cara McCulloch, DE, who's Director of Qualifications 14 to 19 Stats and Research, and Gareth Edge, also DE, who is Head of the 14 to 19 Strategy Team. Since our last briefing in May, the Careers Action Plan was approved by both ministers and endorsed by the Executive, and it's the first joint plan in this area for over 10 years. I'll provide some context for the plan and walk through some of the key areas. So, as we've talked about before, careers has grown in importance for a number of reasons. There's the rapid pace of change in our economy. There's the higher level of skills required to enter the labour market. That means that learners are generally staying in full-time education for longer, which increases the importance of ensuring they're on the right pathway that aligns with future opportunity. The wider range of pathways is also in place, and that's a good thing. We've seen massive growth on apprenticeships, but those pathways are more inherently complex and require more support. We also need to crucially drive more equitable outcomes for those who have been left behind and face more challenging transitions. So more broadly, there's an aim to help people of all ages understand, prepare and access opportunities, and that's central to our economic and social ambitions. So onto the overall approach for the plan. Its focus is to establish a universal access to high quality career services so that people get the support they need when they need it. Whilst there are parts of the system that independent evidence tells us is working well and effective, we know if we only focus on enhancing what's already there, we won't be able to provide the all-age support that people need. That's why the action plan sets out the particular actions that we'll take in DE and DFE to enhance the parts of the system that we're responsible for, but also sets out more broader holistic reforms to try and establish that wider careers ecosystem that is necessary. So going through the different strategic aims in the action plan. First is we'll establish a joined up career system that works across the wide range of partners in this space that tries to connect people of all ages to learning and employment. Actions in this area include publishing a joint vision for careers that sets out what it will deliver across the different partners and the full range of services that are involved. Then we'll create a joint strategic oversight by establishing a joint ministerial group to try and align priorities across education and skills. And we'll establish a community of best practice and knowledge sharing across all those who are involved. This is to try and ensure there's clarity and collaboration across all the folks who are involved in the careers landscape. Secondly, we're going to introduce careers education from primary school, helping children to connect learning to future opportunities. And this is really crucial if we're going to tackle a lot of the downstream challenges that we know exist. The third area then is to establish and raise quality standards and build capacity across careers partners. So that'll be delivered through adopting new quality standards that are shared across schools, colleges and community organisations, creating a careers education delivery framework for schools, strengthening teacher training, and then delivering cross-sector support and upskilling events. And indeed, we launched the action plan in June at one of these events at Sparran Integrated College. And this is the first of a test and learn approach in this area, and our next event in that space is in January. We'll also reform careers delivery to try and meet or better meet the diverse needs that are out there. So actions that are currently underway include piloting a new triage system in schools to prioritise those who are most in need that started this academic year, testing new agile delivery models with digital tools, testing repeat interventions and looking at best practice from other nations. And we're really grateful for the 10 post-primary schools who are currently working with us on those test and learn models. Those aren't test and stop pilots, those are test and learn, so we'll apply learning from it to provision across the wider sector. We're also expanding our work with adults, including ethnic minorities and migrants, and we're going to develop a minimum work experience offer. So this is to try and make our current interventions more targeted, efficient and inclusive. Moving then on to SEND provision. We've got a number of actions here, including creating SEND-specific careers resources with the first publication due in early 2026. Careers advisors will be piloting, testing, repeat interventions with SEND pupils trying to better build trust and relationships and prepare the learners and their families for post-school transitions. We'll also be providing specialist CPD for our careers advisors. And then from October this year, we're testing a new digital support tool that's designed to enhance the careers experience for young people with autism. This year, we're starting off with 2,500 young people, and that's going to build up to, I think, a level delivery of around 17,000. We also other actions in this space that are currently unfunded, that are part of spending review plans and transformation bids, including to establish a specialist transition service. So these actions are to ensure that people and their families have better support so that they understand how to access next steps after school. On to the careers portal now, and its focus is to try and bridge education skills and employment and make the service more accessible to people of all ages and abilities. The portal has three main aims. First of all, we want to ensure that users and professionals have got clear and coherent support. As I said initially, what they need when they need it. We then need to facilitate the collaboration to underpin it and establish a platform that can be changed and modified as our needs change. And we know how rapidly things are shifting in that sector in terms of AI, so it has to provide that flexible foundation. Outside the portal, but in the same digital space, we've made significant progress with our existing digital tools. I mentioned the autism tool, which we're really excited about. We've also been developing new high quality resources with 2 publications in August and 5 more due in 2025. We've revamped our existing A to Z tools, including refreshing how they link to labour market information that we have within the Skills Barometer. And we've seen significant growth in user online engagement with a lot of our traffic doubling over recent months. Finally, the 7th area is that we understand and recognise the importance of families, partners, carers in supporting careers. So we're trying to work out how we can support them better. We're looking at hosting webinars and creating themed resources for those stakeholders, including parents more in transition planning for pupils with SEN, and trying to provide a dedicated area within the portal. So that's to try and empower families a bit more. So to conclude, we've got 7 strategic outcomes that are trying to establish a new joined up system, reshaping who the service is for, starting earlier and moving more into adulthood, establishing new delivery models and utilise technology as best we can. By and large, I see our implementation plan as having 2 main strands of work. There's the individual things that we will lead on across our departments to try and improve what's already there, such as new delivery models and digital tools, but there's also the stepping up of the longer term collaborative structures that will work to make the system more joined up and coherent overall and in the long term. Thanks very much for your time. Happy to take any questions.
And thank you. And can I first of all thank you and all your colleagues from both the Department for the Economy and the Department for Education for all your work on this. I know it's something that we as a committee have been particularly interested in, and I know that we will welcome the progress that has been made to date. Can I just ask then how much has been allocated from the Department for the Economy and then from the Department for Education to take this forward? So money that has been secured and ring-fenced.
Yeah, so the main budget requirement in the action plan is actually the capital spend required for the portal. Mm-hmm. The main focus is on how we prioritise the existing resources that are there and also how we try and maximise the partnerships. When we develop a digital asset, how do we get maximum impact from it? When we engage with employers, how do we ensure that's spread out across the different zones of delivery? So there hasn't been significant additional investment allocated. The other area to mention is around SEN transitions, yes. And we have a transformation bid in for it for our element, okay. and also into the spending review.
Right, that's all right. If I just add to that, in terms of the career service, I think what we want to do is reposition our current resources and make sure we're using them as best we can. So we're not looking
budget
for extra money. It's $7 million a year.
So you're just trying to reprioritise / get better bang for it.
Yes, so we're looking at our client group and who we can spend more time with.
So 7 million, and that's within the Department for the Economy?
Yes.
Okay. And is there any contribution from our friends in the Department for Education?
On the actions that we're leading on.
Mm-hmm.
Similarly, it's about resource from our resource as well. Sure. Going into it, we've got some additional staff to focus on it, which is a good move forward, and ETI as yes. well are looking at it, so we've got resource from that. In terms of some of the projects on the Drawing the Future, money has been allocated to the EA, so it's just under £50,000 to run some online and virtual events for young people that brings together employers and primary school children. So I think that's to involve around 50 schools with around 1,700 children.
Has that started?
Yeah,
Yes.
we had a series last year
Very
that
good.
involved 30 schools and 50 this
You're
time.
just upscaling it now for
It's
you.
the Drawing Your Future.
Yeah.
Okay.
Program
Yeah.
that was launched in January this year.
Yes. And also money then to support the careers teachers through membership of the Career Development Institute,
Okay.
which will get them access to resources and opportunities for further training if they wish.
Yes,
And
it's corporate membership for the next 3 years.
and that's for all post-primary and special schools.
And in terms of the portal then, where are we with that?
So the latest is that I think I've updated at our last session. We completed user insight. Then we formally concluded the discovery phase. Just before and during the summer, we were conducting pre-market engagement. That's where we really release the discovery findings to the market and start to engage with providers about how they would approach it and what they can offer. So at the moment we're hoping to take the business case through the approval process starting off in October. Because of the scale of the business case, that'll need to go through internal DFE appraisal and then on to DOF. So we're hoping to progress that as quickly as possible. Then we'll launch a commercial exercise.
Yep.
And then we'll update that BC into an FBC and hopefully kick off development as soon as possible. But realistically, it's looking like the new year.
And is there a capital budget there for it?
Yes.
And how much has been allocated to that in this year, do you know?
Yeah, so there's not a huge amount this year because development
think
in
we'll
earnest, well, it's really resourcing the administrative teams who are leading the development of the portal.
Okay. So realistically then, if there's not a capital assignment this year, it's not going to be live this financial year?
No, so we're enhancing existing digital tools that will be ultimately onto it, and we're going to effectively launch an MVP version as soon as we can. There's a careful judgment about ensuring there's the right amount of content that actually makes the impact with the users that we want and they'll come back, but also delivering quickly. So our current aim still remains to deliver within this mandate and ensure there's a core offer there across the key user groups.
Perfect. And I'm just interested in the bid that you've made to the Public Sector Transformation Board. Were you one of the unsuccessful ones in the first round?
So we had a few bids into that,
Sure.
so we've been unsuccessful in a range of. On the career side,
unsuccessful in a range of things.
we should have said that. We are part of the SEND transitions bid,
Yes.
and it's about 2 place-based, intensively focused bids to work out how we can address this in a smaller context,
Yes.
and then apply that more broadly. So our element of that is around enhanced careers resources for those learners, in particular a specialist transition service.
And how much of your element is within that bid to the Public Sector Transformation Board?
I'll have to
No, it's fine.
confirm and write. It's not huge. It's really overall you might be looking at around 10 specialist advisors across the province. So for those areas, it could be 4 additional people.
Final question from me. Documents, strategies, implementation plans are brilliant and they're important for the basis, but how are we going to benchmark and look back in a year, 2, 3 years time and say we made progress on this or we didn't make progress on this? How are we going to monitor?
So there's 2 different ways of looking at it, and that we currently have a lot of metrics around what we deliver and how young people and people of all ages engage with that. So we'll carry on measuring that, and then a lot of what's in the action plan is actually stepping up new support services. So in that regard, we'll have to work in partnership with different areas of the ecosystems we're defining it,
Yes.
to set those. So I think the initial marker of success will be, are those services in place? And then we'll set more smart targets after that.
And with the schools, so we're working very closely with the schools who we're trying different models with. So we'll do that in conjunction with the principals and the head of careers at the schools. And
then we have metrics as well. So we do surveys of young people, asking how confident they feel as decision makers. We've got a baseline of that we can do. Also the destinations, there's a good information for us. Information from the careers teachers themselves,
Yes.
that we will be able to monitor to see how prepared they feel to be able to deliver the courses. And the ETI evaluation. I mean, we haven't had inspection for a while, but
Yes.
they're now back out inspecting. So we'll have that as a baseline, and they're going to do an evaluation for us
Listen, government here works best when departments are joined up, collaborate and work together, maximise resources across the board. So I just encourage you to continue to do that important work. Padraig?
Thanks, Chair, and thanks for the presentation. I think this is a really important piece of work, and there's huge areas that are being developed on it. So I just want to commend you on the work first, because it's really important, and I know it's something that you've been working on for quite some time. I suppose just to set this in context, we had a motion about 6 months ago into the Assembly, which was passed around getting a funding model, a fairer funding model for sixth forms, because we know that the current model for sixth forms is per pupil funding model. And I think that with the best will in the world, until there's that movement in DE, a lot of this is going to be trying to plug the gaps in essentially a really difficult funding model. So I suppose overall, I would kind of like an understanding of where those conversations are at with DE, and a better understanding of the collaborative approach with the department on that, because I'm just conscious that all these conversations around careers, they're all fantastic, and I think this is an excellent piece of work, but I'm just worried that without that critical piece from DE, that it will undermine the rest of the work going forward. So just any conversations that have been ongoing with DE.
Thanks, if I can take that one. Padraig, yes, so you may be aware that we have a review of our funding scheme ongoing in the department, and I have met with that group who are doing that to talk about the issues around the sixth form, the sixth form funding, and the discussion that there is around the different models across that phase. So that's one area that's been done. The other is through the 14 to 19 structures, we have a post-16 themed group, which brings together ourselves from the department and colleagues in DFE and FE to discuss a whole range of things that are in there. Funding is part of that discussion. And as you say, it's about clarity about what should be available for young people aged 16 to 19, no matter which setting they're in. And that's kind of a baseline for it. And then to address some of those. They are difficult issues to address. They are cross-cutting, so they're going to be difficult, but they are on the table, and there are structures there to discuss it. And as Clem had said, then we have the themed groups. They will then be reporting up through senior officials up to a ministerial group, so that where the ministers and permanent secretaries come together to discuss these issues as well. So there are structures there to help that and support that.
And I think it's positive. I know when the briefing document there talks about that ministerial engagement and so on, and I know your teams have been doing a huge amount of work on that. And I think that's all really positive, because it is about the collaborative conversations that can happen there. I'm just wanting to get a wee bit more detail on FE. One of the issues which we hear, and it's not to criticise the schools at all, it's just that they are dependent on retaining students because of the funding model, and that's where I have difficulty, in that students are sometimes encouraged to stay at school when that might not be the best option for them. So in terms of that FE conversation, something that we're getting a lot from right across the north is that FE colleges quite often find it difficult to get into schools, say for open days, for conversations and so on. And a lot of the skills that they are teaching, whether that be motor vehicle skills or other issues, are being taught in schools, perhaps without the same kind of infrastructure that are in the colleges. So I'm keen to understand how that's going to be minimised and how there can be a better collaborative piece with the colleges on that.
Again, very much on the agenda and part of the discussion, and I mean it's something that has been mentioned a few times, and you maybe have seen that there was a recommendation in the PAC report on the skills strategy about looking at duplication across the system, and there is a commitment there that we all want to work efficiently and effectively because of just the way we are with the funding and everything, and always in the best interests of the learner. And what we've put in that commitment in that response to the PAC is that we will develop an action plan to address unnecessary duplication. But I think it's really important that I say that there is likely to be some overlap of provision on occasion, and that's probably going to continue to be required between FE and schools, because there are lots of underlying reasons as to why that happens, and we may have to look at, learners have to choose the most suitable learning environment, the pace that they work at, the support structures for their individual circumstances. There are geographical issues, logistical barriers to some of these things. So we have to be very mindful of that, but the intention is that unnecessary duplication will be addressed. The other thing is, and I think I've talked about this previously, we do have processes in place to ensure that learners are in the right place for what they want to do. So just thinking just of qualifications then, so awarding organisations set out what facilities, what teaching is required to deliver the courses that they develop, the specifications. So that's the first thing. There's also legislation in place which requires that qualifications being taught in schools are approved by the department for teaching in schools. And we have another process as well, particularly around these very large size qualifications at level 3, so that's at your post-16 kind of phase, because our position in schools is that you should maintain kind of a broad offer, and not narrow within that setting. If you've got something that's taken up your whole of your time in school, then we have to be sure, is that the right place for them to be? Because there might be better provision or alternative provision in another setting. So that's a by exception. Those qualifications don't appear on our NEFQuan file. So, there are things there to try and make sure, and as I say, always in the best interest of the learner.
Yeah, no, that's it. And I suppose it's not to prioritise one pathway over another. It's just to ensure that there's kind of the best access and I suppose an equity of access across the board. And that's why I'm really keen. And I know you are too. You've been doing a huge amount of work on it. But the thing of getting FE colleges in the schools and allowing them that equity of access, I think so.
Yes, just to pick up on that point as well. So I've been going around meeting all of school leaders through meetings of the ALCs, our early learning communities, and I've specifically asked this point about, I'm being told you're not letting FE colleges into your schools. And I'm not saying it's never happened, but they're saying it's not, that the FE colleges are invited in. They are sending their learners to FE open days. This is what I'm being told on the other, when I specifically asked the question. And to be honest, we went to the ALCs. FE colleges are part of the ALC groups. Of all the ones I went to, there were only 2 occasions when the FE person had attended. Now, and that doesn't mean that it doesn't work well. There are some areas where it's absolutely excellent collaboration and they are really closely involved. But it's just, I think a lot is to do with communication and the consistency of the person in that role.
I think just to add as well, you've got the institutional optic here, but you've also got making sure that learners are fully empowered to know what options they have. And I think there are clear actions within the action plan around starting earlier in primary school, where a lot of these aspirations are formed, having quality guidelines, which could include ensuring awareness of other pathways and also localised frameworks with what careers resources are available in a local area. So I think that's about making sure that learners, their families are fully aware and empowered.
I think that's why it's so important that what a good careers provision looks like in a school includes the careers service coming in, that impartial advice, and from professional advisors. That's such an important part of it, and there are partnership agreements between all of the post-primary schools and the careers service to enable that. And I appreciate the resource issues that the careers service has, and I really welcome and again thank those schools that are participating in those test and learn pilots for delivery models.
No, I totally agree with you, and I think that is definitely best model practice is getting that expertise in and getting somebody independent and who's got that kind of, I suppose, overarching view of skills gaps, economy needs and kind of where students can go and where there may be best place to provide that advice. I'm really keen to touch on the CPD point as well. I thought that was something really interesting that was mentioned.
Yes.
So I was looking to get a wee bit more detail on that, but also on that, how industry leaders are being tied into this as well. Because I know when I was at school, like, there were some of the local businesses that came in to our school, the likes of Seagate and other larger companies in Derry, who came in and spoke, and a lot of people actually went and ended up, either doing apprenticeships or degrees and then moving into those roles. So I think that's really powerful, and it provides a concrete example rather than something abstract. So I'm keen to understand those kind of economic and workplace links, as well as the CPD in this.
Mm-hmm. So the CPD, when we ask careers teachers what they want, of course, they want access to really up-to-date, relevant information. So we are working now with the COI, Careers Occupation Information Unit, who do a lot of that work, looking at what's going on, looking at the skills barometer, preparing really good information. So rather than 180 careers teachers having to do that, it's how we can draw on that to support.
A sectoral bulletin every 4 weeks on a different sector, and we have industry representatives who take part in that. Careers advisors are also mandated to do 5 employer visits a year as part of their professional status. Yeah. So they go out for the afternoon and spend time with employers. We're always keen to get more employers to do that, to take careers advisors in, because it's very powerful for the advisor to see what it's like in the workplace and take that back out to school.
Yeah, and then again asking, when NISCA did a survey of their careers teachers, quite a lot of them are relatively new into it. So what they need to know is, what is my job? What is expected of me? What should I be delivering? So we've worked on the careers development framework. They also are asking for professional development. There's been very little of it. That was coming through. So to facilitate that, as I mentioned, we're getting corporate membership of the Careers
Development Institute, CDI, yes.
CDI, so that for post-primary and special schools at this stage for the next 3 years, and that gives them access to a lot of resources. I don't know if, Gareth, you want to say more about what it...
Well, the CDI is the professional body for careers. It will give a consistent approach for all teachers to access all the same resources, so the delivery of careers should be of a high standard, and the resource that are same will be consistent across the landscape.
Our advisors are mandatory members of the CDI as well, so it's the same information that the careers teachers and the careers advisors will both have.
Yeah, and I think that was one of the things that came out of Deirdre Hughes' piece on the international research, was a good feature of a system is that there's access to...
Okay, we're just going to... Sorry, unfortunately, there's just some interference on the line there, but we're just going to move on. We'll come back. Sinead?
Good morning, and thank you very much for coming along here, and it's great to see that level of collaboration between departments. And just on that note, can you kind of give me an update on the engagements that you might have had with the Department for Communities in relation to the interplay between careers guidance and getting more people back into work in relation to the career guidance framework? In your briefing, you have suggested that the work will be expanded to those marginalised and those furthest from employment. Can you give some examples of what that work will entail?
I'll maybe start off this one, Sinead, and then pass across to Justin. Yeah, that is an area of work. The origins of this initially came out of the 14 to 19 framework. But as you get into the work, it's clear that there's 3 core departments involved, DFC being one of them. If you look at reforms, even in England last week, they effectively split their career service across, the DFE over there and DWP, and it's becoming a much more integrated part of employment services. I met actually with the Strategic Labour Market Partnership Forum just a few weeks ago to talk about the action plan. They're fully supportive of stepping up from what is incidental collaboration, where we go along to the forums. We attend a wide range of careers fairs or focus on that to actually try and do some proper joined up design work about how we integrate those services. So how does the expertise that's developed with work coaches and careers advisors, how is that shared across both? And how do we ensure that that kind of joined up vision of that career system shows the clear join between the career service and the work coaches and how those roles complement each other? At the moment, I look at my resources internally and I've got a really good team leading the career service. We don't currently have a team that's leading on that cross-departmental collaboration. That's one that I intend to step up in the next number of weeks.
Yeah, I would just add, we have a careers office in 25 of the local jobs and benefits offices, so careers advisors would be engaging with their counterparts in DFC all the time. I suppose the main things we do would be job fairs, redundancy clinics for those who've lost their job. We would like to step up and do a bit more, so it tends to be on demand at the minute, but we'd like to be more proactive in that space. And that's in the action plan that we do want to do that.
Yeah, the key action there, Sinead, I think, it is a bit of a, it's one of those ones where it means different things to different people, but that establishing a vision of what the career system looks like, that's the action we talked about, where we pull together the different departments, service providers, and effectively try and do some co-design work to set out what does this look like across all providers and how do we support those different actors in the system. And when I last met with DFC, they were fully on board for that collaboration.
And also, there's career services.
Sorry, can I just ask, why has it taken so long to get that, joint ministerial group together? Because that seems obvious. You're actually collaborating in relation to these frameworks, and yet, you're saying that this could be later on in the autumn. So I think that's fundamental to delivery and outcomes as you've laid out in your papers.
So there is existing good, as Justin mentioned, day to day. So there's 171 events that the career service attended in the last year that are really joined up with DFC. There's everyday collaboration, but we need to put more policy resource into actually designing those together rather than working well alongside each other. So that's a new area for careers. At the moment, we've been looking at how do we use the expertise within the career service to try and collaborate with other parts of the system. We're moving much more now into stepping outside of a career service role and into a career system role. So that's a new feature of policy for the department.
And if I would just add, Cam, we are represented in all the labour market partnerships, the career service, and again we're trying to ramp up that work. So that's DFC are also on those groups too.
Sorry, could I just add as well on that, Sinead, because just to let you know that within the ALCs are working, I think about half of them have already got a labour market partnership representation there as well, and that's something that we can build on.
Can you give me more just details on the test and delivery pilots, how many of them have commenced and in a range of post-primary schools? Can you just give me a wee bit more detail on that?
Yeah, so there's 10 schools signed up for it. They're all across 10. There's one in Derry, I'll not name them, but they're all across Northern Ireland, a good regional spread. So what we're going to do with that is take a group of up to 15 pupils, and instead of giving them one guidance interview, we'll give them 3 or 4 over the course of the year. See if they build up a good relationship with the careers advisor, see if that makes a difference in the impact of the advice they're getting. And then we'll assess that at the end of the year and see, can we roll that out further across the career service, and was that a success?
I think it's worth mentioning the new triage model, Justin, that allows joined up planning as well.
And we've designed a new triage system to identify the pupils most in need, who will be those 15 pupils. So those who need our services most will get more from us through that.
And that really steps up the collaboration in terms of the strategic planning between the schools and the advisor, and that rather than it being, I suppose, a ubiquitous service for all learners, there's a joined up approach to looking at who really needs this support.
Okay, thank you. And just back to the chair talked about the careers portal and when it'll be up and running in that, and you've indicated 2027, so that's really taking us to the end of the mandate. Can that not be speeded up in any shape, form or fashion? I'm just really aware of AI and you know, its capability and everything else. You know, if we're running very slow and behind, are we actually getting behind the technology? You know, that will be a way out ahead by the time 2027 comes along. And I'm just wondering, are you factoring that in to your planning process?
Yeah, I mean, the AI capability is changing. We touched our last session, like in some of our pre-market engagement work, we had a range of providers come and talk to us what they could do, and every one of them mentioned AI, and it is moving rapidly. Whilst technology projects are risky, I think the main challenge aside from that development is stepping up the partnerships and aligning the content that will ultimately feed into the portal, and I think that's what might take a bit more time. So it's not just about the solution, it's about the information that underpins it. If AI means that we can sort through that faster and launch quicker, we certainly will. I'm just very aware of the risks around this being an opportunity cost, and that this is an opportunity for us to really resolve this properly and ensure that everybody gets the information that they need. And I'm really wary of launching a product that isn't ready and is another thing that hasn't worked. So I think that's why we're trying to maintain some caution in the time frames, but if it turns out in development that we can go faster, we will. But in the meantime, we'll be continuing to work to develop the existing digital resources that we have, and we've got a full programme of development in that space this year.
I think it's worth noting we've just signed a contract for a software for autism clients, and it does use an element of AI. So we've only started it. We're going to start using it from October, so we're just testing that and see how it goes. But so we have got some AI coming in.
Well, we have some expertise in the civil service. We had a very good and positive evidence last week from the chief executive of the technology and science, Helen. And I'm just wondering, will you be engaging with her on something that is so transformative of the careers department, or the careers advice and guidance? Sorry.
Yes, certainly. There's a lot of work to build up our digital capability. We'd be engaging with as many of those partners as we can, because the scale of the careers portal in many ways is actually going to be crucial in informing some of our wider policies about how we engage this new way of working, how we manage our data, all of the governance arrangements that go around it. So it's going to be really necessary that we get the support we need, because a lot of those policies don't currently exist, so we're going to have to stay close on that.
And just a quick final question. You've indicated that the career teachers will be able to access a careers development institute. How many teachers will be moving forward to that by 2028?
It's one for post-primary school. It's corporate membership for one careers teacher in each school.
And special
okay.
schools.
Special schools, yes.
Yeah. Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Thank you, Sinead. Gary?
Thanks, Chair, and thanks everyone for the contributions. A couple of questions from me. The first one is just in relation to the triage system that you spoke about there. I would just like to get a bit more detail as to exactly how that's going to work. Obviously, I get the idea of it in terms of prioritising those who are most in need, but how do you define that need? Obviously, there's the medical need, but there's also those obviously who have different needs. There's employers who have different needs as well, particularly in relation to underrepresentation in the workforce, etc. So if you could maybe talk a bit more as to who does the triaging, is there particular expertise required to do that, and we can go from there. So
yeah, so we have a computer system which has 14 different questions. So the young person or the adult or whoever's looking for the guidance fills a form in with 14 questions that are weighted. It's all about your circumstances and your career journey, and do you feel you know where you're going, you don't know where you're going, and then that gives a traffic light system, like red. Those who are in red are seen first, those who are amber can be seen next, those at green maybe not as important. And we discuss that with the careers teacher to make sure it's their understanding as well. So are there any surprises in this list? Is there somebody there you'd expect to see who hasn't been seen? So it's a new system, we're trying it out this year. Again, we'll get feedback from the schools and the teachers and the advisors on how they felt that went.
Okay, no, well, thanks for that. Obviously, it'll be just interesting to follow that. I do see the merit, and of course, prioritising those who are in need. I would just have maybe just some reservations about whether that can be achieved through the 14 questions. But as you say, that's
Yeah, and we will still see everyone to a certain degree as much as we can. It's just those with priority will spend more time with them, so we're not abandoning anyone through this either.
Yes, so they're stepping up with the group work, but we looked. There's been a troubling increase in NEETs, so we have to work backwards from that and think, right, what do we do differently to try and influence that?
When will those pilots be completed? Is it did you say a year, a term?
Started this term, so we have started the pilots, and we'll review them at the end of this academic year. We have had advice from an economist in the department who's going to help us assess impact on that as well.
Okay, thanks for that. Another question I wanted to go on to, just in terms of the whole careers ecosystem. One of the concerns that we've heard in the past is that of the issue of work experience. How is that going to be joined in? So when we talk about the careers portal, how do you see work experience fitting into that? Another issue which has been raised, and we all remember at school having the portfolios, the issue of e-portfolios, is that still on the agenda? How is that sort of progress recorded? Will that form part of the portal as well?
So at the moment, the e-portfolios weren't a key thing that was raised during discovery, but once we move into this next phase, we're developing the platform and also all the sub-products and compartments that fit within it. Then there'll be further engagement as we go, and that's certainly something that we'll be testing along the way. On the work experience more broadly, again, that's something that we need to consider whether that's something the portal tries to house itself or whether it uses existing products that are out there. So when we think about the resources that are needed for secondary school, we'll be collaborating with colleagues in DE to really look at what are options for those components. Is it something that exists that gets API'd in, basically a gateway between the core portal and another application, or is it something we develop ourselves? Underpinning that then requires the more detailed engagement and partnership with employers. Another example of why partnership is so important is that we have 18 different sectoral groups that very much govern our apprenticeship system. So really need to lean into those relationships to try and build up the range of work experience placements that are available, because it's not just about information, it's about inspiration, it's about trying to get some sort of exposure to the world of work. And again, that's really important. So it's not just what the advisors do. Is there anything you want to add, Karen?
Yeah, if I can, if that's okay. I suppose from a school's perspective, when the careers teacher's trying to find work experience, there are a few key issues that always come up. The first is around the administrative burden that there is for the employers themselves, filling in all of the forms that have to be done. There's also the timing sometimes for employers doesn't work with the timing that schools want to release young people from their studies. Also, we have quite a lot of small companies who maybe aren't able to take somebody on for a long time, and as I say, timetabling restrictions. But I think an important point that was made there is about, there's a few things we're doing. The first is that we are engaging with employer representative groups and organisations that work kind of between schools and employers, because some of those are helping us sort out how we can address the insurance issues. So there are organisations around, like Speakers for Schools, who are thinking our Futures for All, Catalyst, Business in the Community, Construction Futures, and we're making sure that the schools are aware of these groups, so we're sharing a lot more information about them, to make sure that's it. The other thing is, I think, making clear that it doesn't, engagement with the world of work can take lots of forms. It can be careers insight talks, it can be job fairs, it can be workplace visits, it can be job shadowing, as you say, part-time working or volunteering, and it's that kind of, and all the international research that's been done has shown that any kind of involvement with those activities, that kind of engagement, has really positive outcomes for young people moving forward in education, employment, earnings, job satisfaction. I think looking ahead, I think there is such potential with the portal, because if employers are on, schools will know where to go to look for information, and employers can maybe give more detail about the kind of support that they can give. It doesn't have to be a work experience placement for a week, but there's other ways they can get involved, and we see that a lot. I mean, Gareth's been to quite a few events that are run either by the schools or by area learning communities, to bring together employers, careers teachers, learners and their parents as well. There's positive things there, and again, that's the bit that we're trying to capture and put into the careers framework that we've developed for schools, to say it's these kind of things that need to be available.
No, thank you. Look, and commend, obviously there's a huge amount of work, just it's making sure that it's all joined up and from start to finish. So thanks for that. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Gary. Diana.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you very much to the panel for coming in this morning. It's been very interesting, and some of the points I wanted to raise have been raised already. Maybe if I look from the point of view of the impact of career losses, in my own constituency of Fermanagh Tyrone, there were 200 jobs lost in BT. I just want to ask how quickly you can respond to the training needs and the career path guidelines for a number of employees if that should happen at any particular time.
So there's existing arrangements in place where when those events happening, the career service are notified.
We're at the dairy or the Enniskillen event with BT, so careers staff can mobilise really quickly and get there and help.
So I think one half of it is that we do have existing processes that step up whenever those unfortunate incidents happen. We want to do more collaboration to ensure they're more designed together and improve them. The other half of that is that we have effective pathways to direct them onto, and that's why I think the growth of all age apprenticeships has been a really positive aspect. But we also know that not every experienced employee will need a full apprenticeship, so we want to look at how we can use that budget as effectively as possible. So is there learning that sits alongside an apprenticeship that's a bit more of a fast track for those who are experienced? How do we use our the skills governance so that when there's a loss in one sector, we very rapidly know where are the other sectors that have got opportunities and what's the most efficient way to port people across so they can continue their career?
I also, as head of career service, I get some advance notice of redundancies that are coming, so I can let the unit know in advance there might be somebody to mobilise here.
Thank you. And really the work experience piece as well. In speaking to industry, I get the feedback that they would prefer having post-16 students with them longer in the workplace. And how can that be supported? There's college-based activities, but the actual lived experience on the job training is something that employers are saying they get more value out of. It's the investment of their time, and that student is more likely to stay there as an employee at the end of that process.
Yeah. I mean, the timetabling is an issue. It tends to be, the schools will say, well, we'll have done our mock exams here and if a week after here, or we'll have done our AS levels for a week here to do it. And as I say, I think learners themselves and the employers would prefer something that's more ongoing to develop that relationship. I suppose the issue is the time. It's the space in the curriculum, and if one or two young people are out 1 week and it's a different two people the next week, it's how do you create that space? And you may be aware we're doing a consultation at the moment on qualifications, and it's picking up on those points. It's about there is so much content to cover in the specifications that it's hard to find time for those maybe more enrichment pieces that should be available and careers pieces that should be available to young people. So that is something that we are conscious of and trying to balance to create space. There's a lot of demands put on schools to deliver a lot. Of
that
things.
Point is it. We recognise the need for vocational skills. There are gaps in construction skills, in plumbing, and all of those trades. And is that where the shift should be to more, a wider on-the-job training looking at that for longer periods on the job?
I mean, I think that brings in an important point about the choices that young people make at the age of 16 and which path they follow. And if they've got a very vocational pathway in mind, it's about what's the right way to do it. Is it an apprenticeship? Is it, on-the-job training, offering that kind of support, or going to FE? Really, there is that. But I think you raise a really important point about raising pupils' awareness of the skills needs. They want to know that. The teachers want, the careers teachers want to know that. But I mean, the point you've just made yourself about is the risk that if you too narrowly prepare learners during compulsory education, there are risks associated with that because jobs evolve and change very quickly. So, there's a risk that something that's there today isn't going to be there tomorrow. It changes in a local area so quickly. So we want to make sure they're well equipped for whatever the future offers them. So we're very keen that you maintain that broad curriculum and that you develop those qualities like your resilience, your adaptability, your decision making, your capacity to learn new things, to be an effective decision maker. That those are the skills that we need to make sure they've all got so that they are prepared for whatever's ahead. But I do appreciate the point that when they're coming to making decisions around subject choices and career pathways, they do need that up-to-date information.
Well, we've got our careers A to Z tool, which is on NI Direct, which covers A to Z careers. It's now linked to live labour market information, so people can click on the engineer or civil engineer and that'll tell you what the wages would be, how many jobs were created in the last year in Northern Ireland. So there is good live information now for people to access.
It's the distance from school to that for some learners, but so that's why I just think the schools they do need to know, and they need to know how to look for that information. That's great thing.
On your point, just around the experience element, so as part of this action plan, we'd be trying to better support schools and other providers to provide more meaningful careers, inspiration and experiences. But if we think about another area of my role, vocational education, all of those level 1 and level 2 pathways have got work experience built into them, and that's so they learn the skills required for a particular work area. But maybe more importantly is those broader skills that we know are often best developed in those kind of world of work contexts. And that's been a major shift from kind of a sole classroom-based model over the last number of years, and it remains a challenge to get sufficient employers to engage in that because it's a lot of it's a very different consideration to think about how you support a young person and give them a meaningful experience.
Thank you. And I think as Sinead has referenced AI, and when I think of green skills and the green technology required, is that currently part of your focus as well, identifying green skills as a career?
Well, I think the way that, again, we're trying to look at that is when we're looking at the review of the specifications, that you don't have something that necessarily that is a qualification in green skills. You look at how you can integrate that across a lot of subjects because it comes into so many different subjects. So it's reflecting it that way through a broader curriculum. Not that you have to do a particular qualification in something necessarily, but it underpins a lot of what's happening. Green skill AI is.
And actually, we recently met with business in the community who are promoting a green generation scheme for schools. So that's been issued out to schools for volunteers and for people to take that up to the EA.
Career Services releasing a Green Skills Careers Bulletin in March 2026, and that'll have industry ambassadors talking about how to get into green skills as well.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Diana. Finally, but not least, David.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks for your presentation. It sounds like we are starting to move in a direction. It's been a morning of acronyms. I've just had to Google a few of them to work out. But tell me this, you talked a couple of things. You talked about best practice in other nations. Where have you looked? And who's doing it really well, I suppose?
As part of the evidence that informed the action plan, we published best practice research, I think, on 17
European countries.
different jurisdictions. Well, also I think Canada was in there as well.
Canada was in there as well.
And New Zealand maybe as well. Yeah. So we've there's been that's quite practical research as well. It's very much in the detail of how it actually works beneath the top level of the skin. I think careers is definitely an area that's everybody understands how important it is now, even in England. This month they've released new quality guidelines for schools. Some of the issues we're talking about in terms of how you can get employers into that environment, they are announcing new cornerstone employers that will try and help regional areas and support that ecosystem. So I think that there's been a huge amount of work to inform the action plan. That then has to carry on to inform how we take forward some of the new areas of delivery.
Who's doing it really well in those 18?
Scotland's really good, Wales is good. The European countries, there's different models. Norway has more digital work than we would have.
If you look at Estonia, Norway, they've got wonderful digital resources. You've got, again, places like Denmark that have got really good adult support services, so midlife MOT checks around what's happening in the economy, how your skills feed into that. So you're really looking at different jurisdictions for different specialities.
So if we take that, is that coming into what we're doing? If we take that bit from Denmark, are we learning from that and putting that in to what we're going for?
When we move into this next phase that I mentioned in terms of the design work that's required to look at not just how services collaborate, but how are they designed to work together, that's exactly what we're looking at.
Okay, brilliant.
Sorry, could I just add, is that okay? It's just like, as well, like the OECD do quite a lot of work, and they published this year a report on the state of global teenage career preparation, which was a survey of like 80 young people in 80 different countries. And I think those are very helpful for helping us benchmark what our learners' views are compared to others. And as you say, look at where is it different and where is it left. So for example, we asked the question of young people, how confident do you feel in making career decisions? And we have around 2/3 say, yes, I feel confident, around 1/3 don't. And you think that seems a high proportion when you think of 1/3. But looking at the international figure, on average, it's 46% don't feel confident about making decisions. So it just helps with that. And then, you, as I say, you look to the countries where it's good.
Karen, I think it's worth pointing out, I sit on what's called the Four Nations group once a month. So I meet with my counterparts in England, Scotland, Wales, and also have a really good relationship with the Institute of Guidance Counsellors in Ireland.
Justin's on the organising committee as well for the international event in 2027. But it's also, like worth mentioning, Justin presented at an international conference there recently, and I think that many other nations are actually looking at elements of best practice here. For example, the recent traineeship model for careers advisors was noted as an exceptional example of developing the new skills required.
Yeah. These two sides of this, then you've got the young people and then you've got the companies. Let's look at the young people. So we have 19,000 young people who are not in employment or training or in any education. 10% of every young person on the age of 16, 24. How does this address that, and how do we start to change that dial downwards?
Yeah, so there's many different parts of this that we're currently considering. I'll get on to careers. I think the bigger picture there is concerning, and we have those numbers, but yet we've got 35% of vacancies are unfilled due to not having appropriate skills. So we've got that gap of a workforce that needs. But I think that, so we look at, again, our work around youth provision. We've tried to enhance provision there for entry-level and level 1 students so that they've got a programme that gets them to that next level, provides meaningful experience and tries to get as many people as possible into a role. We're then, in terms of apprenticeships, looking at what are the barriers. We've got three challenge fund themes that are currently live to try and address those barriers. And then looking at how we can grow the number of opportunities. Obviously, it was in the news yesterday. We're trying to establish new apprenticeship navigators to help more employers come to that system to help increase the supply of opportunity. So we try and better support learners, provide more opportunities. And then on to the career side, I think it does start early, where we try and provide that meaningful information and experience. We then move on to the prioritisation that Justin talked about. When people are at risk of not moving to a destination, how does that change the support we provide them? Rather than maybe thinking about supporting 95% of students, we've really got to focus on where the greatest harm is. And that's why the evidence from those pilots is so important, because you do have to make trade-offs whenever you've got finite resource. And I think the final point is that join up, because people who are NEET or at risk of NEET, they're accessing services in a full range of different environments, different institutions, different providers. Yeah. So every one of those providers have to have the tools and support that they need to support the person that's in front of them, and that's why that sort of ecosystem point is so important.
Yeah. Could I just ask that? I mean, it goes right back. Pipeline's not the right word, but it's right back to those young children in the primary school as well, about aspiration and ambition and looking around. I mean, the Drawing a Future, there was an element of it was a piece of research, and it asks young people what would they like to do, what are the jobs that they have in mind, and how do they know about them. And their aspirations at like in P5 to P7 covered only about 31% of the current employment in Northern Ireland, and the jobs that they wanted to do, 35% of them wanted jobs in culture, media and sport, and that's only accounts for 1% of jobs here. So that connection with employment, opening up the world of work to them, really makes a difference, and it's done in such a fun and engaging way with them, bringing employees.
I suppose the point is you can't have any, and I don't mean this will come out wrong, but that society can't afford 19,000 young people to be moving forward into life without any form of training, and they can't be left behind. But equally, a service is going to have to do more for those 19,000 people than it is doing for who know what they want to do, who want. So there's not an equal balance of targeting that needs to happen to address the problem, and that's kind of where it's getting to. The other side of that is then the companies and the business end of it, because a lot of this, you've talked about education. I understand that you come from the department in the higher education, but whenever we talk to companies and when we're out with companies, a lot of them say the skills that are coming through aren't actually what they specifically need, and they have to do further training. So how do they have a voice to input backwards?
Yeah. We've worked really hard over the last number of years to ensure that so any good system of education needs employer input at every level. And in the past, our system was a bit of a lift and shift, and we've worked hard to try and address it. There's a lot more work to do. So as I mentioned earlier, we have Skills Council, different subgroups. Then for each sector, we have a partnership in place that informs what the pathways are, what the curriculum is. So we're currently going through some internal restructuring to work out how we can actually give greater impact to that employer voice. So whenever they engage with the sector to clarify what their needs are, how does that reverse engineer into the wider skills system in particular? So we're very alive to that challenge and to try and make things as aligned as possible. And that has implications for even the NEET challenge. So it's important that when people are on a vocational education pathway, that best prepares them for an apprenticeship, to progress on to future higher level skills. That all has to come from the same source of what employers need.
Also, I mean, there is an onus on businesses as well. I mean, I was reading some research that was done on one of the business surveys, and it asked the intentions of companies about their training. 50% of them were going to cut their own training. So if we're preparing young people to go out to be able to learn and build on knowledge that they've got and skills, that has to be there for them when they go into the
It's the mechanism of all that linking. Skillnet Ireland as the example, local or in the south, have in Germany a version, Denmark you talked about have a version of that, but it's how you have a formal structure like Skillnet Ireland where a business actually has the voice in and the school has a voice in, and that collaborates together to deliver for the.
We met with our colleagues in South, and I think we are really interested in learning more about how Skillnet works, but also they're really interested in learning about how our sectoral partnership model works. So it was really interesting to sort of have, I guess, the different officials looking at the plus points of the other system. But definitely that's an area that requires more development.
Thank you.
Alex, thank you very much indeed. I appreciate, as I said at the outset, the work and dedication that you've done on this, particularly over the summer period, and I wish you well for your continued endeavours. Thank you very much indeed. Peter.
So members of the committee consent to write to the department just seeking further information on the related transformation bid, which the chairperson asked about. Also, the committee also just content just to drop a line to the education committee. I think they're going to be considering the careers plan too, indicating this has happened, and that there'll be a motion. There's a motion somewhere out there, a joint motion between two committees, which includes the careers action plan.
Okay, perfect. Members agreed? Great. Okay. We'll move on then to the Administrative and Financial Provisions Bill. perfect time. Just invite you straight forward if you're content. Come on ahead. The committee will now receive evidence from departmental officials on the Administration and Financial Provisions Bill. The evidence session will be reported by Hansard, covering out page 259. Could I welcome Julia and Ryan from the department? Very happy to have you here, and hand over to give a short introduction to the bill.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair, members of the committee, and thank you for the invitation to speak with you about the clauses for which DFE is responsible for in the Administrative and Financial Provisions Bill, and to answer any questions or provide any further information you may require to aid your consideration of these clauses. You may recall that we provided a briefing in September 2024 around the consultation on these draft proposals. That attracted a small number of responses, which were overwhelmingly positive. At the time, the committee had no substantive comments, and the committee indicated it was content. The proposals were finalised with no material change. As a result, what you see today is largely the same content that was presented a year ago, but with the drafting done.
Okay.
We have also provided a written briefing in advance of the meeting with more detail in each clause. The Department of Finance is leading and progressing this bill, and a number of departments, including ourselves, have input into it. Officials have been involved in a cross-departmental working group on the bill and provided input into the explanatory memorandum, the finalisation of the draft bill, and other documents. Broadly, the department has 6 clauses in this bill, of which, Clause 2 relates to DFE's power to provide financial assistance and provides a power for DFE to form limited companies. Clause 3 relates to power to make loan funding available to the higher education sector. Clause 4 relates to updating the Employment and Training Act 1950 to bring it in line with normal departmental delegations. Clause 5 relates to Tourism NI's power to classify or grade tourist amenities. Clause 15 relates to the ability of TNI to charge fees and provide DFE with the power to exempt or remit certain fees in exceptional circumstances. And Clause 19 relates to the requirement for separate mineral and petroleum cash accounts, the transactions of which are already included within the main DFE resource accounts. As you'll see, these are kind of the provisions which relate to many different areas in the department. Myself and Ryan have been pulling this together with the help of colleagues in a range of different areas. The proposals were developed in response to Audit Office comments or to address historical deficits in legislation or issues where there was lack of clarity in legislation or areas where the legislation and compliance with managing public money was required. What we are seeking to do is to ensure that DFE is equipped via legislation for issues that face the department today and that are within the constraints of this bill. That is, issues that are largely technical, financial or non-controversial and are not complex enough or significant enough to merit their own primary legislation. We're happy to answer any questions that the committee has today on these clauses.
Thank you very much indeed, Julia. And as you said, this includes most of the issues that were briefed to the committee a year ago. I just had one question in relation to the limited companies. Do the department have a view in terms of where they see the creation of a limited company?
Yeah, we did an exercise as we were preparing for when we knew DOF were going to kind of launch this bill, and we looked across the department for issues that had arisen, say, in the last 10 years. So people that were in the department longer than myself highlighted this as an issue where they remembered the department having this power,
yes,
that the department had lost this power in the transfer of powers to invest, and that there had been issues, or not issues, that delivery option was not open to the department in some instances, such as the Air Route Development Scheme, where Invest NI was asked to set up a company. We would foresee this as being relatively little used, but another delivery option.
And it's better to have the power than to go to the power. No, that makes sense. Thank you. Diana?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you this morning for coming along. That was my point I was going to ask, was Clause 2. Seeking virus to manage the financial transaction capital and the grant and loan schemes. So how does that compare with the remit of Invest NI that traditionally would be seen as the grant giver, the funder for economic investment?
So this clause largely relates to issues that arose during COVID. So the transfer of powers between the department and Invest happened at a time where I don't think anyone foresaw an economic shock of the scale of a shutdown of the economy, and that brought to light issues where the Audit Office highlighted the department did not have adequate powers to run some of the COVID schemes. So that is the origin of this, where we saw, okay, well, Invest need those powers, but actually the department also have a need for these similar powers. In relation to managing that sort of where there is overlapping legislation, that is why we brought in that provision around a statement of general approach, because we want to ensure that this does not impact the work of, say, other departments, which might also impact the economy, or our ALBs, including Invest. So we've consulted with Invest on this, and they're content with this, and it is largely just in relation to ensuring the department has adequate powers if there was to be a future economic shock of that nature.
Essentially, it's almost like an emergency power?
It's not written as emergency, but yes, to ensure that there are adequate powers. It's hard. COVID, I suppose, taught us it's hard to foresee the circumstances that will arise. So it is a general power, but that is the origin of it, to be better prepared for any future issues.
Thank you. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Diana. I have no other questions from colleagues. I think people are content with the briefing that they had before and the issues that you've covered, so thank you very much indeed. I appreciate it. Okay, colleagues, I have no summary of actions to take at this stage, so are we content that we correspond with the Department for Finance to say that we are content for this bill to proceed? Members agreed? Great.
It's the Committee for Finance, but I think we're a wee bit ahead of ourselves, Chairperson, so if you want to go to correspondence.
Are our friends from the department here yet?
They are not.
Okay, perfect. Let's move to correspondence then, members. If I go to Item 2, first of all, is to note the oral statement from the Minister in relation to RHI. Members content to note? Thank you. Item 3, members are asked to consider departmental correspondence providing further information on the Renewable Electricity Support Scheme. A subsequent consultation on the terms and conditions for the first auction is to be expected. These T&Cs may alter with subsequent auctions. The Department is still exploring electricity bill discounts for those living near developments. The first auction date has been pushed back now by 6 months to Q1 2027. The Renewable Energy Price Guarantee Bill is described at page 428, indicating that SONI will deal with the first level of appeals, that the utility regulator at the second level, and the Department for Justice at the final level. Is the committee content to seek oral evidence session on the final scheme design, or do we want to wait until the final terms and conditions of legislation are published? I'm just keen to take members' views on this.
Be worth having them in sooner rather than later.
Okay, perfect.
Just absolutely no problem. I'll definitely arrange. It's what it is I kind of look back at my note whenever they briefed this in May, and there's nothing really, very little new in the final scheme. So, but it's members' shout. We can definitely bring them in, but my suggestion is wait to the terms and conditions.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. What's our time scale? Are you talking?
Yeah, that's the difficulty. So my view is we should have them in because on a couple of reasons. One is that the auction's been pushed back 6 months. We haven't really had an explanation for that. 2 is we have no idea when the legislation will be produced. So the committee having a discussion on that will be useful in terms of trying to push that legislation forward. And 3, in relation to the community benefit, we are now in the same position that we were in May, that to say the department are still exploring options on that. So we're now 4 months down the line and we've got no certainty on this. So my particular view is that we should get them in, but obviously I'm in the hands of colleagues on this.
I agree.
Members, Sinead?
Chair, I agree with you as well. It will do no harm at all just to get a time frame and that an update from the department.
Okay. Agree, colleagues?
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, item 4 then, ministerial correspondence indicating that the higher education financial needs analysis will cover the short to medium term and will verify the reasonableness of the university's own financial needs assessment. An external provider has commenced this work but has not completed and thus will not be part of the departmental evidence next week. At page 448, the department advises that Queen's University and Ulster University will face a collective deficit in the current financial year. So at this stage we're not quite aware of the financial needs assessment, but once that's complete, our members content to seek a briefing from the department in relation to their independent review of the funding of higher education. Great, thank you. Okay. Item 5 then, members are asked to consider departmental correspondence providing information on the work strands of the higher education review. Strand 2 is on the way forward for HE funding model. For the teaching grant, it will undertake by an external provider and will include consideration of initial teaching education numbers at Stranmillis and St Mary's. This will report 12 months after initiation, perhaps next summer. Strand 3 is on student finance support and has been undertaken by an internal review team and covers grants and loans for Northern Ireland students studying in Northern Ireland and elsewhere, and Republic of Ireland students studying in Northern Ireland. This will also report 12 months after initiation, indeed likely to be next summer. The department is undertaking a separate internal review of student hardship funds. Is the committee content to note at that stage, but make clear to the department that we want to be updated on this work, and that the committee will be keen to play its role in ensuring that any review treats all students and all institutions across Northern Ireland fairly and equitably. Are members content with that? Okay, thank you. Item 6, members are asked to consider ministerial correspondence, including a copy of the Innovation Action Plan. This seems to be a summary of the sectoral action plans, but also includes references to the UK Digital Twin Centre programme, which is partially funded by the Belfast City Region and Growth Deal and linked to Digital Catapult. Last week, Ms Nicholl had requested an update on the sectorial action plan, so members content that we do that?
Really positive, actually.
Yeah.
So it's for the department to bring this forward is good. So yeah, happy to.
Perfect. Okay, item 7 then, members are asked to note a departmental press release. Members happy to note? Thank you. Item 8, members content to forward the correspondence to the financial inclusion team at the Department for Communities. We agreed?
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. Item 9, members are asked to note nil return responses in respect to the call for evidence for the insolvency bill from the Committee for Agriculture, Environment, Rural Affairs and from the Committee for Justice. Members content to note? Thank you. Item 10 at page 575, members are asked to note correspondence from the Committee for Finance providing information on the Cyber Security and Resilience Network and Information Systems Bill and the Public Office Accountability Bill known as the Hillsborough Law, for which LCM may be sought from the Assembly. Are members content to note? Thank you. Item 11 at 648, members are asked to note correspondence from the Assembly Executive and Review Committee, including forwarded information from the Executive Office in respect of cross-cutting executive policies. Members content to note? Thank you. Item 12, members are asked to note the 44th report of the Examiner for Statutory Rules, including SR 2025-110, the Industrial Training Levy Construction Industry Order Northern Ireland 2025. No comment was made on this rule. Committee content to note? Thank you. Item 13, again for noting a response from the House of Lords Scrutiny Committee to the Department for Business and Trade, indicating that decisions on the implementation of EU Critical Raw Materials Act CRMA in Northern Ireland will be taken after the EU publishes the delegated acts on which the consideration of the domestic strategy and further notes the UK's critical mineral strategy is forthcoming. Are the committee content to note? Thank you. Item 14, members are asked to note a letter of thanks from the AI Collaborative Centre following this briefing. Members content to note? Thank you. Page 15, members are asked to consider correspondence from ERG requesting an informal meeting with the Chair in respect of renewable energy. Members content that the Chair to meet informally with them, diary permitting? Thank you. Item 16, members are asked to note correspondence from a concerned individual in respect of Wiley arrangements and payments. The committee content to note? Thank you. Item 17, members are asked to note correspondence from a concerned individual. Again, are members content to note as the complainant may wish to take this matter up with the Northern Ireland Public Service Ombudsman? Thank you. Item 18, in tabled items is an invitation to the Chair and Vice Chair. Are members content that we attend, diary permitting? Thank you. Okay, are there any other questions at this stage in relation to correspondence? No, forward work plan.
So members, the forward work programme is at page 766. So just to recap, next week then we have a bit of an early start at 9:30. This is because the Permanent Secretary is only available between 9:30 and 10:30. So he's going to come along and he's going to talk about the spending review feedback. There is no October monitoring round yet. There will not be hearing about the HE financial needs assessment. As discussed earlier, members of trust members are content to defer our visit to Collins Aerospace to a later date. So on the 8th of October then we will instead, I think, hear from officials on the RHI bill, and then after that we'll hear from the Skills Council, but we'll be here in Parliament buildings and hope that's okay. And then finally, members, during our strategic planning session, 2 members mentioned this thing, a very important matter, day opportunities. So as members are aware, this is about young people with special educational needs. They get out of school, what's the provision? So the provision is a mixture of day opportunities provided by health and usually some kind of further education placement as well. My understanding is that the numbers of children and young people involved and the level of their complexity of their needs has increased quite a lot, so that consequently these day opportunities aren't available anymore. So what's happening is the Department of Health is giving direct payments to the parents who then struggling a wee bit to find somewhere to spend that money on so that they can. Okay, so members raised the issue. I have a chat with my colleague, the clerk to the Committee for Health. He advises me that they are all over this and they are receiving briefings from the department quite a lot on this. It's definitely an important issue which members rightly raised. Maybe I kind of dismissed it a bit during our strategic planning session, didn't intend to, but my understanding is the Committee for Health are definitely dealing with this. So
we'll be asked to kept abreast of that. Are members happy with that? Perfect.
Okay, so members therefore content with the forward work programme as amended?
Agreed.
Agreed, thank you.
Okay, we'll go back then to our witnesses and our friends. We have to invite them forward if that is okay. So members, we're now going to go back to item number 3.
It's actually not 3, it's 8.
Westminster Sustainable Aviation Fuel Bill. So the committee will now hear from the department officials on the Westminster Sustainable Aviation Fuel Bill. Ian Maxwell and Stuart are both obviously very well known to the committee, so hand over to you gents for a quick introduction.
Okay, Ian Maxwell, head of the aviation sector, and if you like, I could sort of just lay out a little bit about the bill in opening remarks. The Sustainable Aviation Fuel Bill is part of the government's strategy to decarbonise aviation, and that's very much what we're involved with, and stimulate clean energy investment. Sustainable aviation fuel is a cleaner alternative to traditional jet fuel and is key to reducing carbon emissions from air travel. It complements the UK SAF mandate, which requires 2% SAF blending by this year and 10% 2030 and 22% by 2040. The government is very keen to establish SAF as a leading industry to boost investment, and obviously we want to make sure that we get our share of that investment. It supports the development of homegrown SAF production facilities using waste biomass and renewable energy. The funding mechanism, which is the key element of the bill, is designed to unlock private investment and scale up production. The UK government has stated that developing, using and producing SAF will help drive our emissions to kickstart economic growth and make Britain a clean energy superpower. Sustainable aviation fuel production is estimated to add over 1.8 million to the economy and over 10,000 jobs across the country while supporting decarbonisation. The bill also reflects the government's opinion that funding should be through a variable levy rather than a general taxpayer. It introduces an agreed price. The government pays the difference. If it sells above it, the producer refunds the funds, and that has a devolved element to it. And the scheme will be funded by levies on aviation fuel suppliers, not general taxation. The bill also establishes, and this is a key element of it, a government-owned company, which will be designated by the Secretary of State for Transport. It is responsible for entering into revenue contracts with SAF producers. This piece of legislation is very much an enabler. Future regulations will follow, and we've talked with some in the industry and they're interested in the next stages of it. So it's very much an enabler. Legislation will follow, and we'll work closely with DFT to make sure that we're keeping abreast of this. The fuel the actual appointed company that the government will create will levy costs on different payments under the mechanism and the costs of administrating the schemes, which include resources on penalties and appeals. Therefore, there's no public expenditure implications for our department. So we support the legislative consent motion because it has the potential to attract greater investment. And sure, we're on a level playing field with the rest of GB. And it also, we have, and Stuart and I are closely involved in the other decarbonisation initiatives in terms of aircraft travel. So this will be an important support. It also, and we've talked with our colleagues in Invest who are obviously keen to encourage economic investment, DERA for the environmental aspects, and DOJ because if there are any penalties coming out of this on suppliers, it will go through the county court system, so they have that. And we know, and it's good news, that Catagen and Renover are a couple of companies that are already involved in Northern Ireland on this. And they are, certainly Catagen, we had discussions with them and they're very supportive of this, obviously interested in the next stages.
Okay, well, listen, thank you very much for that, Ian. I'm pleased to hear that the Minister supports granting of an LCM on this. I think all the committee welcomes as much private investment in Northern Ireland as possible, particularly if that's going to go for our shared goal of decarbonisation. So that is very, very welcome. There'll be no expenditure from the department in relation to this. So from my perspective, I think it's all positives, but I'm happy to open up to colleagues if they have any questions on this.
Positive from it's all positive. So what are the opportunities here for local businesses? Or opportunity?
Well, there is those two companies I mentioned, Catagen and Renover, are very much market leaders in this. So it's a very exciting work being done in the case of Renover for the Northwest, and Catagen are based in the Titanic Quarter. But there's also the spin-off in terms of the education. Queen's University, for example, would be very much leading the research in this. And there's also, in terms of the production of it, our agri-food sector can benefit in that the waste they produce can go to this. And there's also that sustainable circular economy element where I think about over 18% of our waste goes to landfill sites, and that can be used for this product. So there's a lot of positives, right across, not only in the aviation sector, but the agri-food sector as well.
In terms of Catagen specifically, the company that Ian mentioned, they were the first company on this island to provide SAF samples to the EU clearinghouse, and they've also recently signed a 15-year commercial offtake agreement with Ryanair for sustainable aviation fuel as well. So, as I say, there's definitely an industry here that wants to scale up.
Anything we can do to help?
Perfect. Okay, colleagues, thank you. That was easy.
Okay,
thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate that, and thank you for your work on this.
Okay.
I know sometimes it can be easy to work with UK government departments, particularly in relation to LCMs, but it's clear there's been good engagement in this early heads up, so thank you for all your work on this.
Thank you very much.
Okay, colleagues, I just want to be clear then of the committee content that we write to the Minister to say the committee is supportive of her LCM on this issue.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Agreed.
Members, I'll write a report then and bring that back next week probably. Just saying that, and there will likely be a debate in the Assembly, maybe a very short debate, but the Chair will articulate the committee's view.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll then move to item 6. Any other business members? Sinead.
Thank you, Chair. I was just wondering, I listened carefully to the announcement by the Education Minister yesterday in relation to the bursary teacher education scheme, and I think that was a really, really good move, and I think it would be appropriate for this committee to write to the Minister and thank him for that intervention, because tackling shortages in education and in teaching actually has a real positive knock-on effect to the economy, and I think it's important to acknowledge it.
That's what I call constructive opposition, Sinead. I think that's a great idea. So I'm very happy to support that. But no, listen, on the wider scheme, it is important. You know, I think there were 6 different subjects in which we have a shortage of across the province, and trying to encourage people from non-traditional teaching backgrounds to get involved in that and provide education to the next generation of people to try and get involved in those 6 subjects is very important. So Sinead, yeah, no, I think that's a very useful and important one to do.
Agreed, members?
Agreed.
Yeah.
Colleagues, any other issue they want to raise? If not, then the committee will meet again on the 1st of October at 9:30 here. So that's 9:30?
Yeah, I'm afraid it is, yes, 9:30. So members, take it for still. We'll get through our spending review stuff. We'll hear a wee bit about renewable energy, and then we'll all go down to the utility regulator before 12 o'clock, working lunch, back out by 1:45 too.
Okay, perfect. Okay, with that then the committee will now adjourn.
Committee Room 30, sound. Committee Room 30. 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 Sound. Committee Room 30, 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 Sound. Committee Room 30. 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 Sound. Committee Room